coffee a lot, and so it only felt right to focus a whole video around this lovely, addictive substance. There are endless different ways to make coffee, and so even if you don't have an espresso maker, for example, there's still going to be plenty of recipes that you can try from this video. All of which are going to be iced because my latte art skills are still non-existent, and so we'll save the hot coffee recipes for some other time. The following video is brought to you by Squarespace. For this first coffee, we'll be making some spiced cold brew mocha. Mexican chocolate cold brew is probably another good title for this recipe. If you're grinding the coffee beans yourself, try to grind them more coarsely. Grab a large container and add the ground coffee. I'm using a big French press here, which is super convenient. Next, add the water. Give this a quick mix and then add the lid on top and place this into the fridge for 12 to 18 hours. Okay, so now it's the next morning. Put together the spiced chocolate syrup. To a small saucepan, add some sugar, unsweetened cacao powder, water, salt, some cayenne pepper, cinnamon, and vanilla. Bring the mix up to a quick boil, whisking all throughout, and then reduce the heat to medium-low, stirring frequently still so as to not burn the chocolate. I'm actually using xylitol. My mom has all these fancy superfood products at home, and it worked just as well as regular sugar, so that's fun. You know it's done when most of the water has evaporated and it looks all sticky. Now set that aside and assemble the mocha. Grab your coffee glass, add some ice, followed by about a tablespoon of the homemade chocolate syrup. And then add the cold brew, as much of it as you like. See, this is why it's so convenient to use a French press, because you can just pour the cold brew onto the ice directly. If you've mixed the cold brew in a jar, then definitely let it run through a coffee filter first. These days, I like a good 3/4 of cold brew to 1/4 of milk type ratio. Definitely make sure to separate the remaining cold brew from the coffee so it doesn't get too bitter as it sits. This next recipe is one of the yummiest iced lattes I have ever consumed. I am not joking. Biscoff iced latte. First, I will be grinding my beans again, but this time super fine. And then I'm, doing the whole barista routine, tamping down the coffee powder in my little espresso spoon. To a heat-proof glass, I'm adding a good teaspoon of Biscoff spread, letting the machine then pour the coffee out directly onto the Biscoff. I'm doing a double shot of espresso here, but since my coffee machine, for whatever reason, only gives you pretty small espressos, I sometimes do 3 shots for an iced latte. I gave this to my mom, who is the biggest coffee drinker I know personally, and she also really loved it. Now, if you wanted to create more of an Starbucks Frappuccino type of drink, you could definitely add some vegan whipped cream on top, plus maybe also some melted Biscoff. That is really good. Maybe not something for every day, but would still very much recommend. So this next recipe is honestly my go-to iced coffee. I oftentimes even prefer it over an iced latte just because it's a lot more light and refreshing. It's a Japanese style iced coffee with vanilla cold foam, which sounds way fancier than it is. Japanese iced coffee is brewed directly over the ice so it cools down instantly. Grind the coffee beans. Ideally, you would want medium coarse ground coffee. Grab some sort of large container, add a bunch of ice, place a coffee dripper thingy plus filter on top. I know you're supposed to wet the filter first in order to get rid of any paper flavor, but I don't know, I never taste the paper, so I always just skip that step. Add the water slowly, bit by bit. Now as you're waiting for the coffee to finish dripping, make the cold foam, which is just barista style oat milk plus a bit of vanilla, and then frothing that using a little milk frother. Sometimes I skip the foam and I just do oat milk, it really depends. This next recipe, also super fun. It's a miso date caramel iced latte. I made a bunch of these recently for my friends. I also made some like ready-made croissants for them. Okay, it wasn't that bad. Okay, let's do it. They're accidentally vegan, which I was really surprised by. First off, prepare the miso caramel, which by the way is insanely yummy. If you've been with me for a while, you will know that that is an older recipe of mine, so I was basically just following my own instructions. First, letting some pitted dates soak in hot water for about 15 minutes. Then I drained them and transferred them to a large blender, followed by all the other ingredients. Brown rice syrup, you could also do maple, some vanilla, white miso paste, softened vegan butter, and non-dairy milk. Blend this up until smooth and use a tamper to push down the ingredients as you do so. And that's it. On to assembling the lattes. I added about 2 teaspoons of the caramel to each glass, then some ice, oat milk, and 2 shots of espresso. Oh, what you could also do is combine the espresso and the caramel in the beginning and then add it to the ice and milk and stuff. Yeah, it's really up to you. Coffee is always up to preference, so feel free to change up whatever you like to suit your taste buds best. This next coffee is a bit of a wild card. I'm not quite sure who came up with this originally. I heard about this online everywhere recently. So you basically combine a double shot of espresso over ice with tonic water, which is this like bitter lemonade. This is what we're working with. I'm gonna stir it, I guess. This is actually not bad. It kind of tastes like the orange espresso thing that was trendy about a year ago. I have a cute little lime here as well that we can decorate this with. Almost has a savory taste to it, but it's not off-putting. Now for this last and final idea, I thought it would be fun to test out a completely different coffee making method. I got my mom this little Italian Mocha maker a while ago, but I had never really used it to make iced lattes. You fill this up with water. I might have added too much water. I don't use this a lot, so I'm not sure here. But anyway, I filled this up with water, added my ground coffee container, added the lid, and then brought this up to high until it started creating a lot of steam and almost boiled over. I removed it from the heat. And then I had a big brain idea, and that was to add some vanilla Tonka bean sugar straight to the hot coffee, so the sugar could dissolve in the coffee as it was cooling down. Tonka is such a yummy ingredient. Like, it's so insanely flavorful and just hard to describe what it tastes like, and it works so well in coffee especially. I let the Tonka coffee sugar mix cool down for a good 10 minutes. Towards the end of that waiting period, I grabbed my cup, added some ice, some oat milk, and then the coffee. For some reason, I had chosen the coldest week ever to film this. And so pretty much any time I was testing these coffees, you can picture me being huddled up with a blanket and a hot water bottle. But that is it for all of my ideas today. Please let me and the others know in the comments, what is your favorite way of drinking iced coffee? Are you more of a cold brew person? Do you add any fancy syrups? Or do you strictly go to cafes and never make your own? I'm curious. Before you leave me, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. And yeah, last but not least, a word from today's sponsor. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform helping you to create and cultivate a beautiful online presence. Start by building your own website. They've got a wide range of website templates that are divided into different categories, so you can find what fits your brand best really easily. Use Squarespace to create professional-looking newsletters. Incorporate audio blogs into your site, if it's a podcast, for example, that you're working on. Or if you happen to be a video creator, you could use Video Studio, a video editing app that helps you create engaging and fun video content for all sorts of social media platforms. Get started today. Go to squarespace.com/MinaRome and use code MinaRome for 10% off your first purchase of a new site or domain. Thanks so much for being here. I will talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day. Bye. A picture book.